Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is going to be our top 10 best TV shows of 2016, but with some extras as well, because reasons. Yeah, so we sat down and we debated, like we did with the little top 10s and top 5s, and we said, right, what is the best shows of the year? We went back and forth, and we came up with this list that is almost cancelled. And there's some stuff that either of us don't watch. Whatever, we'll have some honourable mentions at the end of the video for stuff that only one of us watches or whatever, and that kind of thing. But now, so we're gonna have a top 10 shows, and when we assembled the top 10 shows, we realised that almost, or in fact, no network shows whatsoever made the top 10. We're going to do a top 5 network TV shows because we felt that they should get some love too.
Yeah, we didn't want them to be completely shafted because while they may not be contenders for the best shows, there's some good stuff out there.
There's some really good stuff. So that's what's going to come up first. We do top 5 network shows and then top 10 shows of the year in this video. So hopefully you enjoy some of this. One thing to point out is that we did already do a top 10 new shows of the year, and obviously we spoke about those shows in there. Lots of them will pop up again in this. So because of that, we'll probably just get through them very quickly, very bullet points, and you can check out that video for a little bit more. But of course, every single show we talk about in here, we reviewed all the episodes of this year. So if you can find the playlists on the main channel page, very easy to find, and you can get them in depth, because this will be spoiler free, but if you want us talking about them with spoilers, you can find all those playlists on the channel. There'll be some links in the corner, but YouTube limits how many I can put, so you only get 5 of them. On to our top 10 shows of 2016, which, of course, as we said, ended up not including any network shows. You may think that is ridiculous, but this wasn't intentional. We just argued out our shows, and we ended up with these 10. Number 10 is Outcast, which we spoke about on the new shows of the year. This is from Cinemax. It's a show about possession and about a main character, Kyle, who has a power to extract demons that have possessed human beings, and it's set in his small town. He's got a dark past where everyone thinks he's disturbed and evil. Of course, secretly he isn't as disturbed and evil as they all think, and it's about the story of the demons in the show. He teams up with the Reverend, and they go possession hunting. So, wonderfully dark show. I think we were surprised when we watched the first episode of this.
Yeah, it had some fantastic direction.
But this was another show that it was guilty of getting better as it goes, which is weird to use guilty for that phrase, but it is. Around episode 5, around the midway point, it suddenly did these things where it made us care about the characters in a way that we hadn't up until that point. It gave the show a heart, which is not something I thought the show would ever have. I was enjoying it, sure, but it ended up having way more of a heart to it than I was expecting.
Yeah, and I feel like just while we're on the topic of we're saying, oh, they get better as they go, and maybe people think, of course they do. They should do that. And then you just look at something like The Walking Dead, which with its say what you want about anything else the rest of the show, the pilot is utterly phenomenal.
I would agree with that.
And I don't think even the parts that I really liked, I don't think it ever matched that.
But no, Outcast is good.
It is. It's worth checking out if you somehow missed it.
Number 9 is Channel Zero, which is from Sci-Fi. It is the first season. It is a 6-episode season. It is anthology style in that each season will be its own story. This particular season was called Candle Cove and told the story of a deranged, creepy child's TV puppet show, which a group of characters all seen about 20 years ago, and a series of murders that are kind of linked to it happened. And this is the story of one of the main characters coming back to his hometown as an adult, and murders start happening again. It is very creepy, some fantastic direction in terms of horror filmmaking, and it's got some great imagery in it. It's kind of got some like Silent Hill-esque monsters that you kind of
It
see.
is. It's kind of very just strange, grotesque beings that are just there, almost just to be scary at times, and it always works for that though.
It's got pretty good kid actors for the flashbacks, and you do keep on your toes. Like there's characters die that you didn't think were going to die. I think it does a good job of keeping you guessing as to whether or not the main character is as crazy as everyone else thinks he is, or if he's actually, on the good side of things, is he the hero that you're supposed to be rooting for?
Yeah, and I think one of its biggest credits is that it always makes you feel just uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's because, like I say, it's that Silent Hill-esque feeling and look to it, where it doesn't feel like they're in Silent Hill, but it has that weird sort of macabre. There's something disturbing going on here.
Yeah, it's just you're always uneasy. You know there's something not quite right, even when everything seems all right.
Number 8 is a very recent entry, which might have made our new shows of the year had it aired by the time that we actually did that video, is the OA from Netflix, which they shadow dropped essentially by announcing it like 3 days before they put it up last week.
I don't know. It's just when we thought we were going to have a nice quiet, lead into Christmas week.
Yeah.
No, here's a weekend show for you to just get through.
In fact, at the time of recording, we only just finished the finale last night.
Yeah.
That's how recent this is. But it's making this list. It's making this list for a couple of reasons. It's not for everyone. Some people will not enjoy this. Certainly, I think people who don't like mystery, people who want answers to things, and people who don't like... If you want something quickly paced as well, I don't think you'll be into this. It's definitely a slower moving, sort of surrealist drama.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah. With some elements of, like, a little bit of science fiction creeping in. So like some thriller elements as well, because there's, a whole plot line about someone being held captive. But I don't want to say much about the plot beyond a woman in her 20s comes back after being missing for 7 years. Where was she? We don't know. But she tells the story to some people in the town that she comes back to. And there's some plot twists, there's some revelations, there's things going on. It's Britt Marling who's in it, and she also is the co-creator and co-writer of the show. And if you've seen anything that she's ever done, you know exactly what to expect in terms of the tone and the overall feel of it.
Yeah, like you say, it is such a distinct tone that you can't miss it, can you?
The acting is genuinely great. Jason Isaacs is in it. He plays a great character. And the direction I was always impressed with, because it always emulate how the main character would be feeling it. Because if we're experiencing it through her eyes, through her storytelling, the direction would always emulate that by not showing us things that she wouldn't see, or not feeling things that she wouldn't feel, and so on. And
I think there was only maybe one time in the entire show where we criticised the direction for being misleading.
Yeah, it was very on point throughout, and it's one of those things where I think with most, like, high budget cable and Netflix shows, you feel this now, but it doesn't feel like a TV show. It feels like a movie. In this case, it feels like a sort of low budget independent movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which falls in line with the other stuff that I've seen from Britt Marling. The main one being Another Earth, which was a movie about a parallel Earth appearing in the sky and what that meant and what that was causing on Earth. Which I recommend. If you like this show and you want to see more of her stuff, I would recommend Another Earth.
Yeah, because I've never watched that, but after this show, you're damn right I'm going to go and watch it at some point.
If anything I've said there sounds intriguing, I would go for it. And that would be the word that I would use to describe it for the most part, is it's very intriguing throughout. Number 7 is 3%, which is also a Netflix show. This came out last month. It is a Brazilian show though, so it's in Portuguese with subtitles, although there is an optional English dub should you require it. And
I would not recommend it.
To be fair though, we've had multiple comments from people saying they used the dub.
See, I did try it accidentally, and I thought it wasn't anything to do with the acting. I didn't have it on long enough to judge the acting, but from a technical standpoint, I thought it was poor.
Yeah, it wasn't mixed in to make it sound like it was properly mixed.
And that just made me... I feel like that is unusable then, in my opinion. Maybe that's just because I'm a sound guy, but...
Yeah, you're more sensitive to that. To be honest, that would bug me as well. But honestly, if they offered me this show with only dub as an option, I wouldn't watch it, because I hate dubbed tracks.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the option's there, which is what it should be. You should have the option of either.
It should.
But, no, this is a story. It's set in a dystopia in Brazil, in like the near future or whatever. I don't know, maybe they did specify a year, I can't remember. But, yeah, so the whole idea is that the mainland of Brazil is the inland, and that is the poor area, and the offshore is this island where all the rich people live, but only 3%, hence the title, of people get to live there. And when you turn 21, you go through this series of tests called the process, which decides who gets to move from the poor area to the rich area. So it focuses on that. There's an espionage aspect because someone's infiltrating for a sort of a rebellion type group, and we get interesting characters. We have several tense setups in the episodes. Some of the best moments of this show is when there's just a group of characters in a room and they're discussing what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and it just makes for a really engaging show. And if you like science fiction of this kind, I think it's definitely worth watching. And it's already been renewed for a season 2, so we know it's
Which
going
is
to
good
have more.
because obviously, what this, unlike perhaps the OA that we just spoke about, this does give you more concrete answers to things.
Hmm.
But in a very traditional final episode sense of a series of a season, it kind of sets up what to kind of vaguely have some ideas for the next season, and it does make you excited. So we're very glad that we're getting more of that.
Number 6 is Black Mirror, and we seem to be on a
Yeah, I was just saying that's three in a row.
Netflix roll here. Oh, this wasn't originally Netflix, to be fair, so this is at least a little bit different. But yeah, season 3 of Black Mirror came this year, and it actually was home to 2 of our top episodes of the year, if you go and look at our top 10 TV episodes video. And this could arguably be higher. I think the reason why we put it a little bit lower than we did some of the other shows is because it is an anthology. Each episode stands alone, and some of the episodes are absolutely phenomenal. But there was, at least one pretty weak one, in my opinion, in this season. And I
Yeah.
think if you look at it as a whole, it's harder to judge this almost compared to the shows where it's a full story playing out over a series of episodes where everything builds and culminates and you have your highs and your lows along that story. Whereas here, each one's essentially its own film.
Yeah,
Its
the
own movie.
closest kind of feeling you have to that is the episode placement as to what they want you to feel in what order.
Yeah. But I
But
will
you can
say,
ignore that entirely if you want, I suppose.
yeah, you could watch it in a different order if you want to. I
Yeah.
mean, the options there. What I will say is this, though. I will highly recommend that if you have not watched Black Mirror, including the past seasons, you should highly do so because this is a fantastic science fiction anthology series. That said, there's a couple of episodes that don't really have any science fiction elements. Most of them do, to some extent.
Yeah, there's maybe two or three that don't.
But they're kind of like a modern day Twilight Zone, but with maybe more of a highbrow kind of hat on, where it's always about a social, political issue of some kind, usually dealing with technology or social media or something like that. And it can get a little bit depressing. There's one or two uplifting episodes. Most of them tend to be looking at the negative aspects of humanity, but they're all, for the most part, they're very well crafted, and they often have a twist that'll pull the rug out from under you. And even if you see the twist coming, it usually works because it's built up properly and there's a message behind it.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Quarry. Now, this appeared on our top 10 new shows of the year. One of its episodes did appear in our top 10 episodes of the year, and for good reason. This is an 8-episode season 1 from Cinemax about a soldier who comes back from Vietnam in the 1970s and becomes a hitman for hire after a series of events. Also focuses a lot on his relationship with his wife and how that plays out throughout the season. I think there's some clear categories we can just say about this. First of all, the direction is damn near flawless. It's a show that is not afraid to take its time for a good sequence, where it'll let the camera just sit there, let the action play out in front of it. It also has some fantastic one-ers throughout the season, action shots. There's a car chase. There's a flashback to Vietnam that goes on for 8 minutes, all one shot.
It's gorgeous as
Yeah.
well.
And the direction always works with the emotions in the scene. It never feels flashy for the sake of flashy. It goes with what's going on. There'll be a rush. The camera work will complement that. If there's a moment of tranquility, the camera work will complement that.
That's the thing. It's never just the camera that's being well directed. It's the actors too, because everything just comes together perfectly.
The acting is phenomenal. The acting
It
from
is.
the two leads specifically is absolutely astronomically good. They are fantastic. I mean, we don't do a full set of awards where we do best actor, best actress, but these two would be up for those certainly.
Oh,
if we
absolutely.
did. There's no
And
question.
yeah, because obviously you say, it has the confidence to just sit back and watch the action. Usually when that happens, it's because it knows they've got these two actors and they can carry it even if you do nothing except watch them.
There's scenes of this where you do have the action, but you do have scenes where it's just two people talking to each other, and it's just as tense, it's just as moving, it's just as exhilarating because it builds up its drama so well and it focuses on the right things. And we don't know if we're getting a season 2, but I really hope we do. That said, if you're worried about trying it because what if it doesn't get a season 2, will I not feel fulfilled? Season 1 tells a complete story that leaves it in a very good place that if we don't get a season 2, I don't think you'll be that upset about it. I'll just be upset about it because I want more because it's so goddamn good.
Yeah, but please do yourself a favor and watch it because you're missing out on. Look where we've got it. Number 5 out of everything this year. It deserves it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was more positive on episode 1 just to rub it into Connor, and then
No, and I stand by what I said about episode 1. I think it got better every episode.
Oh, it did get better every episode, but I could see the great. Clearly, I have an eye for it, and I could see the greatness was coming, whereas you were a bit more
I think for me, episode one
wishy-washy.
just had some odd pacing issues for me, and that was it. But
Oh, that
once, I guess.
that was smoothed out. By episode 4, the pacing was
Of
so
course.
on point. Very rich in storytelling, rich in themes, rich in metaphors. Lots to like sort of dig your teeth into and analyze. As you can see from, if you go and look at some of our reviews for the episodes, you can see they're quite lengthy because we get into it and we really had a lot to talk about. And I think one of the things that's really separating a lot of the reason why network TV does have to be separated into its own, which don't get me wrong, the network TV in and of itself has gotten better at this too. But I feel like 20 years ago, you wouldn't be talking about cinematography on about TV shows.
Of course not.
You go back and watch shows from the 90s, they're shot in a very typical, safe, quick way. I mean, even Joss Whedon, I remember one of the commentary tracks for, I think it was season 4 of Buffy, so that was just around 2000, give or take. He spoke about how directing TV sometimes like just directing radio with faces, because there's no
It's very
real,
static, isn't it?
yeah, very static. There's no real thing. And don't get me wrong, network TV stuff like Supergirl and Shield. I mean, Shield's doing some wonders itself in its action scenes, and it works really
Yeah.
well. But this kind of stuff on cable and Netflix is going even further, and it's like there's no difference anymore. Like, the difference between these and the big budget movies now is that they have ridiculous budgets for their CG effects and they have maybe bigger actors, but that is a
I mean,
bit,
honestly, the only difference for me is that these are 8 hours and a movie is 2.
which sometimes is better because you actually have the time to build the
It is.
characters in a way that you can't in a movie. You just don't have the time.
Yeah, and you mention actors like, oh yeah, that's a big selling point. That's not so much anymore. I feel like there's a lot of high prestige movie actors
Oh,
that are willing to do
well,
TV now.
I never said selling point.
Okay, just a difference.
I said they cost more. That's what I
Well,
meant.
yeah.
They
Right,
cost
okay.
more. That's where the budget goes.
Yeah, yeah.
When Chris
Okay.
Pratt's been paid $20 million, they can't afford that on a TV show like this. Number 4 is Better Call Saul, which of course is season 2, happened this year, from AMC, spin-off of Breaking Bad. And again, I feel like a lot of the things that we talk about, especially as we get higher in this list, are very similar. And that we're talking about filmmaking, we're talking about characters and acting, and
Symbolism.
symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism in this show that we love to talk about when we were reviewing this earlier in the year. And I will point out that this is one that didn't get an episode in our top 10 episodes, but honestly, it was just because it was right at the start of the year and all of them bled together. We couldn't really distinctly say there was this episode that was great because we just remembered all 10 of them being great.
Yeah, it's a long time ago for just what to separate it down to a single hour.
The seasons throughout, fantastic symbolism, fantastic acting, and this is another show where you can have two actors in a room just having a conversation, and it is riveting. Like you're watching the body language, you're watching how they react to what each other says. When I think there's a scene in this where Saul learns something that his brother's been keeping from him, which no spoilers, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but like it's been built up so much over the last season and a half that your heart drops when the truth comes out, where you feel what's happening. And again, the filmmaking aids all of this. It's very confident.
Yeah, and to its credit as well, season 1 was very much Saul's story, whereas season 2 elevated his supporting cast a lot more.
Yeah, Kim got some time to shine, and she stood out really well this season.
Yeah,
That was great. The episode that focused on her was very good. Even the way she played off with him, and the way they both grew from what they were in season 1 to kind of accepting each other and realizing who they both were and working with that instead of it being more conflict. Or like there was a lot of surprising character progression that worked and made sense for the characters. And I think season 2 as a whole was a step up from season 1, to the point where I'm way more excited about Better Call Saul. I enjoyed season 1. Season 1 had some great stuff. The Mike episode in particular is a big favourite for obvious reasons. But season 2, I think, across the board, was better.
Oh, I don't even think it's that insulting to season 1 to say. I think it's just that it is clearly improved, and why wouldn't it? They've got more time. We don't need to establish certain things. We can just let, like Kim, for example, we can have this parallel story where they're both growing together but apart, and they can do that now.
Number 3 is Stranger Things. So we're back to Netflix. Didn't last long away from it. This is a show that maybe you're thinking, oh, this surely this isn't as got the intelligent writing of the last few that we've brought up, and maybe it doesn't. But this show is probably made just for me. Like I don't know. I don't know if I knew I wanted exactly this thing,
But as
but
soon as they gave it to you, you
yeah.
never want anything else.
And the funny thing was, is when I saw the trailer and they announced it, I was like, yeah, this looks not bad. But I wasn't that excited because I didn't want to get my hopes up. You know, I'd already been burned by Dead of Summer when it came to 80s nostalgia, set TV show. But when I watched the first episode of this, first of all, it just felt like a bigger budget. It felt like, it opens with a scene of, this the scientist running through a lab, and it's like a horror movie scene with flickering lights and like something's coming from him. He's trying to get the elevator shut. Right away, like the production quality was obvious, and then we have the synth intro music came in, and I'm like, I'm feeling this. And then we're introduced to characters. We're introduced to these kid actors who are great kid actors. They feel like kids from an 80s movie. It legitimately feels like it was shot in the 80s, and the plot's very 80s. We have evil scientists in a lab. We have a girl who might have superpowers. We have a potential monster. We have other.
There's a lot of riding around the neighborhood on the bikes.
There's a lot of that. So very Goonies, Stephen King, Spielberg-esque, all this kind of stuff. All that's there. And I loved every second of it. I loved everything they did with this. I loved the archetypes they played with, and they messed around with them. I loved that it was a tightly paced 8 episodes. This was probably the first show from Netflix where I didn't feel, oh crap, that was too long. They kind of feel like they stretched that out. No, this was perfectly paced.
It was, and I feel like we've kind of had that. I mean, the other ones we've mentioned from Netflix on this list, not counting Black Mirror, obviously, have also been 8 episodes and have also not had that pacing problem.
Yeah, 8 seems to be better than 13. Although, I would also accept 10. I don't think I want the Marvel shows to be cut down to 8, but I would think 10 would be a better number.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's just this middle ground for maybe let them breathe a little bit more, but just tying it a touch. Can I just say on Stranger Things, I'm still annoyed that I was late to this because I was away the weekend that this dropped. And by the time I got back, everyone was already going on about it so much. It was like, come on, you got to watch it, get on it.
Yeah,
and I had to steamroll through this.
This was the funny thing. This is the only show in this top 10 where we don't have reviews of all the episodes individually, because we didn't start doing that with Netflix shows until the next one after this, which I think was Luke Cage. Yeah. And we've done it since then. We're going to do it going forward because we enjoy doing that more. But not only, even if we wanted to, Connor was away. Which is why
that's the thing, because you watched that first episode the Friday, which was the day I was going away.
And because you were away, I got Tim in. I was like, Tim, come and talk about Stranger Things episode 1 with me, because we need to do something for it, because it was really goddamn good.
And there was no way you would have waited till the Tuesday to watch another one. It just wouldn't have happened.
And when you came back, I had to wait for you to watch the whole season so that we could have our hour-long season video, which is up, and you can check that out. Which don't get me wrong, I think we had a good discussion, but it would have been so much more fun talking about it episode by episode, and we'll definitely do that with season 2 next year, which I can't wait for. Got more episodes. It looks like there's going to be Terminator references in it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's something we learn with these, especially these last couple, like especially maybe the OA, where it is very like we spoke about its mystery, and we got to speculate every episode. And if we'd been doing that the old way, we'd never have got that discussion, which would have maybe hampered our enjoyment, because we get more enjoyment from these shows when we talk about them, I feel.
Yeah, after each episode, yeah.
And I felt we gained so much just from having those discussions than if we just watched the whole lot. Number
2 is Westworld, which obviously no surprise if you looked at our new shows of the year that this would be high. And most people are kind of loving it. It's kind of the hot new thing this side of the year. And for good reason. It's full of mystery, it's full of great characters, it's full of science fiction high concepts, it's insanely high production value in terms of budget, the effects look great, the locations look great.
Satisfying answers.
It is full of pretty satisfying answers where, even if you guessed a lot of them, they felt satisfying when they delivered them because everything made sense and it added up in it. There's also things that it reveals in the last couple of episodes that make watching the rest of the show another experience, like going back and watching season 1 again with the information you get at the end gives it a completely new layer.
I also think some of the reveals they handled so well, whereas if you'd had no idea, it kind of just spells it out for you, and it's like, okay, this is what's been going on, and you need this. But if you knew when you'd kind of been figuring out, it was like, okay, you got it. Now here you go. Just enjoy.
And obviously, if for some reason you don't know what Westworld is, I'm not even going to give you a plot synopsis per se. I'm just going to say that if you like science fiction and if you like particularly stories that revolve around can AI become sentient life, can a robot gain humanity, that is essentially the themes that we're playing with in this show, and I think it handles it very well. So,
Yeah.
high budget. We've spoken about it a lot. Go and check out our 10 reviews. Check out the best new shows of the year because it popped up in that.
Some of those reviews are pretty lengthy
Some of them
because
are.
there was a lot to talk about.
There was.
Also, if for some reason you haven't watched this yet and you're hearing us place it here and you're like, maybe I should actually check this out, watch our reviews after each episode. Don't binge through them because how we just spoke about how we gain so much with the discussion, you get so much more with that discussion between episodes rather than just rushing through them, I think.
Number 1 is Mr. Robot. Now, it's funny because getting into this top 10 before we had this debate, I didn't know it would be number 1. I feel like last year it was obvious that it was going to be Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
And this year it didn't feel as obvious. I feel like any of our top 3 or 4 here could have probably been number 1.
Yeah.
And because it was a debate between the two of us, it kind of like, how does it sync up? You know, what's our arguments for and against? And Mr. Robot was the one where both of us kind of went, nah, this kind of works at number 1 for both of us. If it's between the two of us, Mr. Robot is what is number 1 for essentially the second year running. Why is that? Why does that still succeed? And I think it's because, despite what we've said about some of these other shows, Mr. Robot still has some of the best direction on TV.
Oh my god! I mean, there are some moments where, even though you know exactly what's going to happen, it just treats it with such a special reverence almost in the direction that you can't help but get completely caught up in it.
There's legitimately some sequences in this season, in season 2, that left me kind of breathless.
Yeah.
Where I was kind of holding my breath during the scene because it was so tense, it was so riveting, it was just so confident in what it was doing. Like it would feel like almost surreal how realistic a moment would feel because of how it was portrayed, because they would let the music go away and they would just have something happen or whatever. But at the same time, it also has that Mr. Robot wonderful like narration from Rami Malek as he like goes through all of these things that he's going on. He plays that reliable narrator role where you question certain things, you're constantly theorizing. It also did a great thing where it took Darlene, you know, and gave her more to do this season and made her more of a character who could carry some of the show. One of the best episodes in the season is where it's just her and Angela doing stuff for an episode, and it's like a heist episode, and that was really fun because that was also really tense. And again, we keep talking about winners. There was a fantastic winner in that episode.
Oh boy, there really is. Again, the direction, it just does everything in this show.
And it's almost more impressive when this, or maybe even the AMC stuff does it, because this is not premium cable, this is basic cable, this is what you get. Mr. Robot, I don't think, has the same sort of budget that something from HBO or Netflix does. So when they do something like this, it's even more, man, you really, you
worked so hard.
You worked hard so you had the time
and especially this season, you've got to give so much credit to Sam Esmail, who directed it all himself.
He directed every episode. So not only is that direction great, it's consistent throughout the entire season because it is one like creative voice that's doing the whole thing. And it's funny because I remember seeing a tweet from him saying, I wasn't crazy enough to actually write the script for every episode, just direct every episode. I'm like, wait, I feel like that's more work than the writing all of them.
And he wrote a bunch of them still.
And he's still the showrunner. He's still like overseeing it all.
Yeah, he still plotted it, and obviously, this is his brainchild. The whole show. There is no one better who understands every movement, every small tick from every character, which kind of makes him the natural choice to direct.
I think the great thing about Mr. Robot, and again, this kind of falls into the almost the OA territory where I'm going to say, yeah, if you're someone who doesn't like mysteries and doesn't like having not concrete answers for a while, it probably isn't something that's going to work for you, because obviously there is mysteries in Mr. Robot, there still is. We theorised to a ridiculous extent throughout this season. Again, if this is one of those things where if you're going to watch the season, you probably want to watch our reviews after each episode to get the insane, oh, maybe there's time travel involved.
Yeah, that's what I mean by that. You'll never understand how we felt in that moment if you just go straight onto the next episode. You just can't.
The discussion between each week, again, is so great. It's one of those zeitgeisty shows. So I think for some people, this season did get a little bit too... like Sam Esmail was almost doing too much auteur stuff, like he was
It's a
doing
little self-indulgent, perhaps.
self-indulgent. But for me, that makes it better. For me, that makes it more interesting because for me, this is no, this is less of a TV show in the traditional sense. This is an auteur doing his weird vision. It's a singular
Yeah.
man's vision, for better or worse. Maybe you don't like that, and that's fine. But for me, it's a lot more interesting because one of my complaints with some movies and shows is that it feels like committee, like it's it has to have check all these boxes, and it's normal and it's nice and it fits into your box,
And it will sell.
and it'll sell. It's safe. Depending on what it is, maybe there'll be some merchandising and toys and whatever. Whereas this, I always kind of appreciate the weirder singular person's artistic vision. And some people think, those can often be pretentious, or they can often be this or that. But there's a passion to it that's missing in some other stuff, and you can see that passion throughout this entire thing, throughout this entire season.
You can. And there's also something like it trusts its viewers to be smart. It always assumes that you're a step ahead of what you should be, perhaps. It expects you to be engaged and be thinking about what might be happening, because otherwise, when they do finally tell you you were right, it means nothing because you never earned that moment yourself.
Again, acting's very good across the board from all the main players. And it's not a perfect season. I think it's worth mentioning there is certainly the first half of the season does maybe linger on one sort of premise a little bit too long.
Perhaps, yeah.
Mr. Robot is still the highlight of the year, but I will say this about 2016 over 2015 is that it's not alone this year. Like I feel like
No,
this
this was tough.
yeah, I feel like this year we have a lot of highlights throughout the year. I think certainly our top four dotted throughout the year are like, no, these are the tent poles of the year, and then all this other supporting stuff underneath that just gave us this great year of TV. And even if you don't like all the 10 that we've spoke of, if we've left off some stuff that you do love, I feel like it's been such a strong year across the board for all these different shows. And I think if you're like us, and we do watch a lot of this TV, we do like a lot of it, I think this year has been exceptional in that sense.
Like I said, I thought 2015 at the time was a pretty good year, don't be wrong. But this year has kind of completely blown out of the water. Like, there's been the good stuff, the great new stuff that surprised in 2015 have come back. And then we've had all this other new stuff just come really charging in and really made it feel special for TV this year almost.
So, top 5 shows from network TV. And number 5 is The Exorcist, which is one of the new shows from Fox this year. A show that we did not expect to enjoy. We did not like the trailer, but it ended up being a scary good time, which paid homage to the movie without relying on it too much.
Yeah, it became incredibly solid and consistent. I feel like there was never any low point to the season, but the reason it's not any higher on this list compared to others is perhaps it didn't have the same highs that some of the others did.
Yeah, it was very consistent though, and it did do a good job of using the elements that we're familiar of from the movie and just sort of the Exorcist lore, but it also added in some new stuff that expanded the mythology and leaves possibilities open for a season 2. And but more than anything else, it gave us some really good characters. So we cared about the possession, we cared about the characters trying to stop the possession, and it wasn't just here for shock value. Although there was some genuinely good creepy moments throughout.
Oh, there was, and there were some moments of great body horror stuff that you typically don't get on TV.
Yeah, it was another example of TV horror going a little bit further, because I think there was a time when you couldn't do horror on network TV. The restrictions on what you could show just meant it wasn't possible, whereas now you get away with pretty much what you need to. Number 4 is Pitch, which is another show from Fox. It is the baseball drama about the first female player in Major League Baseball. And despite not knowing anything about baseball, we really get into this because, and this will be a running theme as we talk about entries here, the characters were great. We cared about the characters, they all had strong personalities, with one minor exception in this show particular. But for the most part, great music. It played with the sport movie kind of cliches, both like for and against them, and because it mixed things up as the season went along. Different episodes focused on different elements, and it kept us kind of on our toes and didn't feel repetitive, because it very easily could have. It could have very easily been this week's game.
Like I say, it could have just been game, progress through the season till they get towards the end, and it just avoided that completely, because it was in the background of everything because, of course, it would be. That's their kind of end goal. But it was never the driving force.
Yeah, and it handled its main themes really well. You know, the theme of the discrimination, there's a woman now in a sport that was traditionally all played by men. How do they react to that? Is she singled out?
And something else it does is there's often confrontation between characters, as you'd expect. And it does a very good job of presenting most times both sides are very balanced and you can see where both characters are coming from, which makes it really effective because there isn't a clear this is who you root for.
Number 3 is iZombie, which is from the CW. This was the latter half of season 2. It aired this year. Season 3 unfortunately got pushed to mid-season, so we're not going to get that until after Christmas. But iZombie is a show that when it started we liked the idea of well enough, but it was over the course of the first season, but it got good. But season 2 especially, it felt like it really upped its game. Like it knew what it was, and the lead star Rose McIver does this great job of like playing all these different personalities. Because the plot of the show, of course, is that she is a zombie who eats the brains of people, but when she eats someone's brain, she takes on traits of their personality and their memories, like almost like how in like another show you'd get like a character who flashes a premonition. She'll get like a flash of like a memory as they were dying or just before they died, kind of thing. What could have been a very boring procedural cop show about them like tracking down different suspects each week is a very solid show with again great characters, great performances, especially by her.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it would have been easy for them to fall back on the crutch of here's the case this week. And the thing is, it plays with that. Every week almost is a different case, a different brain. But it always, for the most part, serves the greater narrative, at least in season 2.
It does, and I think her companion or Ravi, who like works with her in the morgue, he is a great source of comic relief, but he's also a great source of like analyzing these different brains and what it means, and his excitement when she eats a type of brain or whatever is usually really good fun. And I think that's the thing that really makes it work is, again, you care about the characters, but it's also a silly good time as well. There's episodes where she'll eat a brain of someone really silly, like a magician. So she'll be doing like these like spells or something, or she's pretending to do that kind of thing. Or she'll eat the brain of like a teenager who's a fan of this stupid TV show. So she'll be obsessing about the TV show throughout the episode.
Yeah, and as much as she's a fantastic actress adapting to all this and presenting these different personalities, you've got to give credit to all the people around her who can play off it so well and take that and make it fun.
The end of the second season really opened up the scope of what season 3 might be. The idea that there's this bigger world that knows about zombies, and I think that'll be exciting when we get there. Number 2 is Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is, of course, from ABC, and it's in its 4th season right now. Obviously, the back half of season 3 at the start of the year, and the first half of season 4 this side of summer. I think I spoke about this before, but it's one of the best paced shows on network TV.
Yeah.
Ever since late season 1, early season 2, the show has just been very consistent and surprising us with how quickly it gets through plot points, where you can trace our reviews all the way back to like early season 2, where we would say, oh, well, this was introduced this episode, oh, that'll play out over the next like maybe 6 episodes, maybe half a season, and it would be resolved by the end of the next one.
And even though we know that this is what it does, even now it still surprises us where we go, okay, this will be, we know what this show's like, we'll give it 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Next one.
It's actually one of my favourite parts of the MCU, which is funny to some people because I think some people did write the show off early on because of its rough start. But it really is because I care a lot about these characters. And what this sort of past year has done for the show is it's given us some really touching conclusions for relationships that have been building since season 1. They took almost 3 full seasons building a romantic relationship between 2 characters. It had feeling to it when it happened. You care for them. You're rooting for them to.
It felt genuine, and like I say, it's also one of my favorite areas of the MCU. It's maybe not the best stories of the universe, but it's definitely my favorite group of characters.
We've had some fantastic moments this past year, though, coming from the show. It tends to do season finales and mid-season finales really well.
And then you have these bold episodes peppered throughout where it does something completely different, and they're always phenomenal.
And also, I mean, it's even just the idea that it's building the MCU itself, that it's added the whole mythology of the Inhumans to the world.
Yeah, and completely scrapped some movie plans in the process.
I'm not going to entirely blame this show for that, but yeah, it may be part of the reason
Yeah.
for it. It's not Joss Whedon who runs the show, but the last name is Whedon, at least the co-runner.
And it kind of feels it in spirit. Like
It
you
does.
get like
The
it's
misfit
gut
of
punching. It
it's
is the Misfits, yeah.
it's the misfit family who sometimes break up, but they always come back together, and you care about them coming back together. Number one is Supergirl, which might be a controversial choice for some people. They're probably going, what, Supergirl over some of these other picks? Now wait a minute. This is not a definitive best of list in that we are arguing that this is what everyone should agree with. This is our favourites. This is our what we love the most. And the truth is that by the end of season 1 of Supergirl, the latter half, which was the first part of this year, we were really into it. We were really excited about it. We were looking forward to it every week. Partly because we love the Superman mythos so much, partly because it was treating the character with the right sort of fun spirit, which we also praised The Flash for, which was also good this year, but didn't just quite make the cut. It's just so bubbly and fun-spirited, and again, you have the characters. You have Melissa Benoist, who steals her own, which doesn't really steal the show, it's her show, she's the main character, so it's not really stealing it,
She owns the show.
but she owns the show.
This thing, you could maybe argue Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a better show.
I think in terms of filmmaking and pure like sort of straight writing, it is.
Yeah, but if I was given the choice, watch one or the other, I'd pick Supergirl.
And this is a weird thing that we both agree on, where we have this love for this show. And to its credit, though, it has gotten better as well. Like, I think, around, obviously this was last year, but around episode 6, 7 is when it really started to get good in season 1. And I think season 2, which has been over the past couple of months, has done nothing but kind of impress us and do things that we never thought Supergirl would do. Now, it still occasionally has a sort of dud episode. There was a Fight Club-esque episode this season, which I was not...
There's always one.
Yeah, that I was not fond of. And, you've got 22 episode seasons. I expect a few duds throughout there. But it's handled some really mature plot lines in a way that I never expected a show on the CW to do.
That's the thing, because obviously last season, this wasn't on the CW. When it was announced to move, it was kind of a torn decision, because, like, okay, we get it. It makes sense. It always seemed to belong on the CW anyway. But there was a worry that it might suffer because of it. And while some things have certainly changed, and you can tell that it's because it's on the CW that this is now a thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are noticeable that are perhaps for the negative, but honestly, the writing is better.
Yeah.
The action, for the most part, is still really good. Visual effects, obviously, aren't always great, but I always forgive it because I'd rather they do the cool superhero moment with crummy effects than just avoid it, because it would feel like we're being cheated. Because as much as I love a show like Lois and Clark from the 90s, when you go back and watch it, they kind of just have to cheat all of the moments with the...
It is, and it's kind of
colours.
wasn't. This is almost a spiritual successor to that, in a sense.
In a weird way, Dean Cain is involved.
Yeah, and a lot of tonally, it kind of feels very similar.
Of course, they did introduce Superman this year, which was a great couple of episodes as well. Expanded the mythos. Obviously, we have a great version of Martian Manhunter on the show, which is also something really exciting if you're a DC fan. And even this year, they introduced Mon-El and Miss Martian, which is something that I never thought I'd see on screen. But above all else, it's just really charming. It's, again, great characters, some of whom weren't as great in Season 1 have grown as well. I think there was a plot line for Jimmy this season which we were kind of dreading, but for the most part so far, it's actually been surprisingly good.
And to the right's credit, while we're on that topic, there has been decisions that were clearly in place because they thought it would play well with audiences, and then they went, "Do you know what? This isn't working," and they just kind of backed out of it, to their credit, when they should have done.
Yeah, I think the show's clearly grown, and it's clearly learning from its own mistakes, and I think that's worth something. But it does get a lot of things right. Its heart is eternally in the right place. Its messaging is almost entirely what a show about a superhero like Supergirl should be. And of course, we do want to quickly mention a couple of things that maybe didn't make it because we either both don't watch it or we don't do it for the channel. This is very much meant to represent the top 10 of this channel and what we've covered throughout the year. Now, obviously, one thing that I watch that Connor doesn't is Ash vs. Evil Dead, so I do want to give that a shout out. I don't know if it would maybe make my top 10. It might. I'd have to really sit and think about it.
It's with a chance.
It's with a chance. Yeah, I think it probably would. It'd probably knock the bottom one off and get a few into it. But That's very fun, but it's a very different type of good show because it is like it's this schlocky, silly, funny horror comedy.
But that appeals to you so much, like
Oh, it
your
does,
sensibilities.
yeah.
I mean, we spoke about how Stranger Things was kind of made for you. Ash vs Evil Dead kind of is in the same way, just with a slightly different twist on it.
Yeah, it's a different part of my
Yeah,
my nerdy love. So I'll give that a shout out, of course. And I know Connor watches a few things that I don't watch that he wants to mention.
yeah. I mean, first is Star Wars Rebels because I love it. It's so this is obviously this year was what back half of season 2, first half of season 3. It went places no one expected at the start of this show. It really like grew into its own. The characters came together and became a family. And just to maybe appeal to Peter just a touch, has some of the crew has a very Firefly vibe to it. Kind of feels like you're in that sort of, this is your crew, this is your ship. Let's do stuff. It kind of brought back a lot of characters. It became a spiritual successor to Clone Wars, if you watch that. If you didn't, though, it didn't suffer from it. And then other than that, Archer, because it is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
So good. And Peter, you need to watch Archer so we can cover the next one.
We don't do comedies anyway.
We should anyway, just because it's ridiculous. And
Isn't it on like season 6?
so
Yeah, exactly.
next one's
yeah,
8.
Yeah, I'm not catching up.
Yeah.
Not happening.
But they're only like 10 episodes.
I'm
Of like 20 minutes.
I'm practically killing myself catching up for Doctor Who for Christmas.
That's another thing. Doctor Who probably would have been on this if it had an episode this year. Doctor Who technically is happening this year, just in another, week or so?
It's getting one episode at Christmas. That's not... Christmas special's not enough. We need a season for it to be eligible.
Bring on May. Next year. It's coming.
Yeah, but Star Trek's also hitting me. I feel like that's a bigger deal. But let's stop talking about this because we're doing a top 10 anticipated shows for 2017 as our next TV end of year video.
It's coming.
It's coming
once we establish the timeline of facts.
Sometime next week we'll be doing that video. What do you mean timeline of facts? What the hell are you talking
Well,
about?
we have to establish what's definitely coming 2017 for a start.
It doesn't have to be definite. I think as long as it's a good chance that it's coming 2017. I think, if some stuff gets pushed to 2018, it's not our fault.
But okay, fine. Yeah, no spoilers, but the deep may appear.
No spoilers, but no, it won't. Oh dear. Yeah, we're getting kind of good in there. It's been a great year for TV, but of course we are curious as to what you think as well. What was your top 10 of the year? Obviously, I don't watch Game of Thrones, so that didn't have a chance of sneaking into this top 10.
It probably wouldn't have got into my top 10, but there was some amazing episodes for sure.
Yeah, because we mentioned that I don't watch Game of Thrones on the episodes video, and I got a couple of comments asking why. Short answer is I tried it. I watched over a season of it. I got somewhere into season 2, and by the time I gave up watching it, I was watching episodes in like 6 increments because I found it painfully boring. I just don't like it. It's not for me. You guys can rock on, enjoy your Game of Thrones, but I would rather watch just about anything else.
I definitely don't enjoy it as much as many other people. This was a better season, so based on this season, it was up there.
I've heard you complain about season 5. You basically quit the show in season 5.
I did. I didn't even finish season 5. I had to catch up.
But that's why Game of Thrones wasn't popping up, because I feel it's the obvious. This is the thing. When it started and everyone was raving about it, that's why I watched it. I was like, oh, this might be the big nerdy thing that's on right now. I'll give it a go. And I just never really get into it. I'm just not a big fantasy guy in general, though. That said, if they ever want to do a Witcher TV show, I would be all over a Witcher TV show.
Oh, yeah. I'd be down for that.
Alright, anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let us know what your top 10 shows of the year are in the comments below. And like I say, we will have a top 10 upcoming 2017 shows that we're excited about sometime next week. But of course, also between now and the end of the month, we also have all the top 10s and stuff from the other shows. Me and Matt will be doing top 10 movies of the year. Me and Tim will be doing top 10 horror movies of the year. Anticipated 2017 movies, all that kind of thing. Also worst horror movies of the year, certainly, because me and Tim have watched some right crap this year for streams. So you can look forward to those if you give a toss about them. But if not, expect our anticipated 2017 sometime next week. But otherwise, guys, like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot if you do. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. Thank you for watching this year, and we'll see you in 2017. Not that there's no other videos coming up before the end of the month, but it feels
there's
like
Doctor Who yet.
but it feels like the right thing to say at the end of this because it's the last best of 2016 TV video. So thanks, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. Bye bye.